You're listening to another episode of Mr. Allard's Neighborhood. This is the place where you're entitled to Brad's opinion. And now for your host, Brad Allard.
Well, good morning. It's another great week in Burleson. I have Victoria Johnson here on Restream because she has COVID. So first and foremost, how are you feeling?
Okay.
Okay. I appreciate you coming on the air, even if you're not 100%. That's really it's very good of you to do so because there's a lot going on in the city and questions, and I get confused. I get a lot of my information from Cody O'Brien's blog, so I'm glad he's around for that because it's been giving me some good information, but I don't understand all the story. And there's probably some questions out in the community about the three main topics we're going to talk about. It's the Old Town, what would you call it? Remodeling, I guess, but with the Texas Bar and Spice Rack. And also we're going to talk about, or is there others as well?
Oh, no, those are two applicants.
All right. And then
recent.
And then also the library. Apparently, some people think we're about to build a library. We're not, but I mean, it has been proposed. And then also about some people are concerned about the use of our ambulances and other public equipment. So we'll be talking about all those things. But first, again, you're doing okay, are you?
I'm here.
You're here. How are the kids?
They're not happy with me.
Yes, I know.
I missed winter recital on Saturday, and I missed a family Christmas yesterday. So
those are big deals to mothers, I can tell you that.
Yeah, I was pretty upset about missing the dance recital.
Yeah. Well, I thought I might have had COVID. I took a test yesterday and came up negative, but I can't afford to get sick because my parents, I'm going to see them this weekend in Corsicana, and they're in their 80s, and there's no chance I'm going to go down there if I'm running a fever or whatever else.
Right.
And
I'll
now,
say it's kind of like mine. I was one of those that was like, oh, it's a sinus infection.
Yeah.
So beware the snotty pressure, all that stuff seems to.
When I had COVID 2 years ago, coming up 2 years ago in January, Otto came by with about 4 containers of his soup, and that really made a difference. And a bottle of 10-cup whiskey, which really helped. And I, people think, oh, you just need an excuse to drink whiskey. No, you don't. You don't need an excuse. But, I mean, it really does. The soup was really, really great, as always. And so, by the way, I don't know if you saw this on the posting, but there was a big group of people that came by our place today, and they left like a extremely large tip for all the wait staffs members. I mean, we're talking about probably collectively near 4 figures. And so I thought that was pretty nice.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah, it is. So y'all check out Facebook page, check out Otto's page about it. It's pictures of it, and that's very generous. And that's the kind of people Burleson is. I really like that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It just makes you proud of our hometown.
it does, and I'm glad we're going to be able to talk about these issues and maybe put some enlightenment on it, because a lot of people, of course, they take half the information and they run with it, and they make assertions that may or may not be true. I don't know. Like I said, I am kind of ignorant about all of this. But anyway, let's talk about a couple of the sponsors, though. I mentioned some of them already, but let's talk about CrossFit Burleson, 317 Southwest Wilshire. Thank you for all you do. They're behind the Stone Soup Cafe. It's a good time to work out. Christmas holidays, you don't want to let it get away from you, which is pretty easy to do. And so go ahead and work out and look at the plans and the classes and whatnot, all the stuff they have going on. And you'll probably find something that'll fit you. Not everything fits everybody, but there you are. Also, thank you to Shandy Stockstill, the Stockstill Group. That December, they say, is a pretty slow time for real estate, but she still has a couple of houses that she's showing. I know she closed one last month, so she's still making it happen. And if you're looking to move in and around the area, then this is the place to do it, because she really knows her stuff. I've dealt with her before as a real estate agent, and it's really, really good to see how well she does. Also, I mentioned our place. Of course, there's going to be a lot going on at Christmas time. If you want a pie, you want a cake, or mostly pies. If you want a pie or anything like that, you better order it now, because his pies are very, very popular. But also, it's a great place to go and get away from all the hassle of Christmas. Christmas is these holidays you need a vacation from after the vacation. and or a holiday after the holiday just to recuperate. But I guess in the Johnson home, Christmas is still a pretty big deal, right? She's reading something apparently, but anyway.
I'm trying to.
We're
get my
troubleshooting her
headphones
AirPods.
Yeah,
to work.
I know.
I'm so sorry.
Can you hear us okay?
I can hear you. I just want to make sure you can hear me.
I hear we hear you fine. No, we hear you
Okay,
fine.
good. Well, I'm just not going to be distracted.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, well, I just figured it's been your many fans texting you right now. And no, but I know, but Christmas for the kids, I'm sure, is going to be a big deal.
It is.
It always is. Enjoy it now, because when they get older, they get, I'd rather sleep in.
I think that's been the hardest part about being sick, is it's just like I'm probably going to miss school parties on Wednesday, and so that's another thing my kids are not happy about. I love being at the schools, and I love being a part of it. Even pre being a mom, when I worked for the school district, it was my favorite thing to like go on the field trips and go help create. And so I have spent a lot of time at the schools. That's probably where I picked this up.
Probably so.
But no, I think I love this time of year. There's so many wonderful opportunities to make precious memories, and it's just about the time, right? And I want my kids to look back and have all these sweet memories of doing things, and my mom being at the school and hanging all those snowflakes and all that kind of stuff. It means something to them, and it definitely means something to me.
Well, you'll be better soon, hopefully.
I know, hopefully.
And then go to Otto's and have some of that soup. I like his taco soup the best.
You've read my mind. I'm so jealous. That I have been craving his soup. My favorite is the minestrone and the vegetable one. So I fully intend to call and ask what they're serving today and go send Philip to get a pickup order.
Well, after that, you can go buy a wild cigar and have a cigar. That would really do good for your COVID. Well,
but a whiskey would.
I was joking. I'm not really joking about the whiskey. I'm not advocating, getting drunk or nothing. But, I always like the whiskey does kind of help a little bit. But, I mean, it's either that or NyQuil. What's the difference? And but a good place to get it is Wild Cigar. They got lots going on. They going to have specials, particularly for New Year's Eve and things of that nature. And also, this week actually, and next is bowl season, so they'll have those games on if you want to go check out. There's literally there are 42 bowl games, and so that's a bunch. And so you can go check them out, and of course the big bowls will be there. So check out Wild Cigar. They have lots going on at this time of year, and it's also a good time to get gift cards. Also, a friend Tiffany over at Local Life. She's very busy at this time of year as well. Her latest issue is on the Harvest House, and Jennifer will be on the air this Thursday. And that's going to be good because we're going to talk about the Christmas needs and whatever else. And also, like I mentioned before, Cody O'Brien and the Burleson Buzz. This has been a very valuable source for me. If you look at Burleson Buzz, where's the logo? I forgot the email address. Not email, website. Just there you go, burlesonbuzz.com/Allard23. You'll get a discount on it on your subscription. It's already pretty cheap, so you're going to be, well informed for a very small price. And so, again, burlesonbuzz.com/Allard23. Get the discount. All right, I want to say this from the get-go, okay? Some of the comments I've seen about Facebook about this business with Old Town kind of verged on this is personal, not business. And I don't really think this is. And as far as I'm concerned, from everything I've heard about Texas Bar and Spice Rack, the food is good, the service is good. I have ex-students and friends that work there. I've been in these places. I recognize it. And so it's not them that's the issue. All right, I like these restaurants just fine. But why is the city council opposing some of the issue or the renovations, I guess, that Texas Bar and Spice Rack want to do?
Sure. And I want to reiterate what you've said. This has not been about a particular business. I frequent Old Town, and I eat at both of these restaurants. I, too, know lots of people that work there. This isn't pointed toward any one particular business. The issue is further up. It's a policy issue. We, first and foremost, have a Old Town Design Standards Review Board that only reviews additions, changes to buildings and structures if they are valued at 50% or more of the total property value. So it takes a lot to trigger that. That needs to be changed. My opinion is we have these committees that are made up of citizens, business owners, people that own property in Old Town, and they should be helping and having valuable input in the shape of Old Town. It shouldn't be subjective. And I feel currently that's what it has been. What is right now, we don't have standardized, like, if you want to build a patio extension, this is an idea that it could look like. You should use such and such materials to continue the aesthetics of Old Town. We don't have these standards spelled out for business owners, property owners in Old Town to work from. So staff is kind of put in a bind, and they keep bringing it to council because they don't want the subjectivity to be left on them, and it shouldn't be. And then it's brought to council, and then there's 7 different perspectives. I very much appreciated Mr. Waddell's improvements that he brought forward. I thought they were sharp looking, and I completely understand the conundrum that restaurant is in. It has done well, it's in a prime location, but you're getting competitors now, competing businesses that are coming into Old Town. And so how do you keep yourself competitive? How do you look sharp and fresh and clean like the new builds? And so I didn't have some of the concerns that one or two of my other colleagues may have shared. I would have approved that, but I did understand where some of the comments from my colleagues were coming from. In that particular situation, it was about permanent versus non, but there are ways to work around that. And so we really need to equip Old Town business owners, property owners, people that are willing to invest in Old Town. We need to equip them with the tools to be able to make improvements without having to constantly go, is this going to get withdrawn? Is this going to get approved? Is this going to get beat up? Because that's not fair. That's not fair to anybody spending time, money, and energy in trying to keep up Old Town.
It sounds like this is a process issue more than an aesthetic issue.
In my opinion,
okay,
we need to take a step back. We don't have a process right now. The process doesn't kick in until the improvement is of such a high value. And so when you're just adding on a pergola or a cover over your patio, that doesn't kick in that 50%. And I don't know when that was established or how or why, but that's, in my opinion, where we need to take a step back and think, that's what council is for, to create policy decisions, not to be determining what materials specifically we should be using in XYZ project. We need to just say, this is the process. This is the policy for how you go about doing whatever it is you're wanting to do. And that's throughout the entire city. So this is a major flaw.
Okay.
We need to fix this as a council. Several of the comments that have been made between the Old Town Brewery agenda item and the most recent agenda item, which was Spice Rat. The problem is right now we're being subjective, and that's not fair. We need to get away from that. It needs to be a process. Follow these steps. Here is our Old Town Review Standards binder, and it tells you the materials that we would like to see to keep with the aesthetics of Old Town. We want it to have a look and certain feel, and this was drafted and put together by people who are genuine stakeholders in Old Town. And if you have questions, here's who you can contact: people that are in Old Town, doing business, owning property. I don't feel like it should be subjective to whoever's sitting up at the dais. That's just not fair, and that's not how we should be conducting business, because then
Yeah.
it becomes oh, well, this person doesn't like me. I don't conduct myself that way. I believe I'm sitting in this seat, and I'm an elected servant for this entire community. I don't play favorites. I don't look at things like, oh, that person um, didn't support me, whatever it may be. That's just not how we should be conducting business as a council. And I don't believe that we do. And so I don't like that conception that we are, because it's not right.
Well, okay. So let's assume that y'all come up with a process, which I know takes a while. Is it possible that maybe Mr. Waddell and Mr. Sheeler can get waivers or something like that, so they can continue with their process while y'all go through making the
Absolutely.
standard? You know, because I know I've been in government office or groups before, and it takes forever to come up with a policy. Is it possible that, okay, we're going to give waivers and we're going to discuss these other issues separately, but from this point on, we're going to have a process in place? Because I'm not really trying to take a side in the fight in a sense, but Mr. Waddell's had that I don't know, patio location for quite some time,
Right.
and so we're not talking about something brand new to the city at all. And same thing with Mr. Sheeler at the Spice Rack. Those have been there for a while. Is it possible they can be grandfathered in, and then from this point on, we're going to have an established process? Because it just, I don't know. I'm not, like I said, I don't have a dog in this fight, but it just those are businesses that do contribute to Old Town. There are businesses that pay taxes and employ people and all that. And I'm sure as far as the type of construction, whatever, that could be negotiated out. But I guess just in my view is like, okay, it'd be for them to have to wait until a policy's in place and then go through that policy. We're talking a couple of years or better. And
Sometimes it can take that long. Especially when I'm talking about a committee made up of citizens and business owners. You have to schedule meetings, and they have their schedules to work around. Things take time just because of how many moving pieces there are. So yes, we spoke through staff. I believe our city manager, deputy city manager, a number of people went out and spoke with Mr. Waddell and said, okay, within your agreement, you can do all of these things. Are any of these going to, any of these seem appealing? What they are, I give staff credit. They are really trying to say, within the current agreement, these are all the things that you can do. Do any of these satisfy or meet your interests? And the same happened with Mr. Sheeler. Staff went out and met with him on Friday. And my understanding is the conversation went really well. It's definitely not our place as council members to direct staff, but I am fully in support of saying, hey, can we have a conversation with them? What can we do within the confines of their current agreement? How can we tweak or work with what they have or what they're wanting, and give them, just like you're saying, a temporary approval? Or we absolutely want to work with people.
Right.
I believe staff is.
Sherry Scott I hate to interrupt, but Sherry Scott does have a question about the transportation code. What is that? How does that involve itself in this discussion? Sherry says there's a transportation code that needs to be followed as well. I'm not sure I understand what that has to do with this, but maybe you do.
I'm sorry, I don't.
I don't.
Might have something to do with it. Might be referring to parking spaces. So much.
Well, maybe she'll get on and explain a little bit more detail, because I don't know what she meant. Also, we had another
but that's
comment.
All things that are. Yes, there are so many confines that we need to be considering, but I don't believe. I think that should just be spelled out in a manual, for a better word, of these are all the things that you need to take into consideration. But we don't have a guide for anyone to follow right now. Everyone's just shooting from their hip as far as a business owner or property investor, and the same is going for council. I'm like, well, that doesn't look to me like it fits in Old Town. Well, that's a subjective opinion, and that's not fair to the person investing their money.
What about this? I get somebody here asking, I'm not familiar with this person, but they're asking about Jamaican Summers. Do they get a free pass? I don't understand that question, but maybe you do. But what does Jamaican Summers have to do with this?
Similarly, Jamaican Summers has extended their patio, their coverage, and I too have questions. There are a number of structures and expansions that have taken place in Old Town, and I too don't. Some fall under this, and some don't, and I don't know how that's. You're absolutely right. This is a policy thing. We need to take a step back and figure out whatever we're going to implement needs to be across the board. Everyone needs to understand what they're getting into when they're conducting business in Old Town as far as expansions, investing in the properties, because right now it's been subjective. Sometimes it's enforced, sometimes it's not. What aspect is enforced? Is it the type of materials? Is it the parking spaces that are being removed or allowed? There's so much here. I'll say it's a big mess, and it needs to be cleaned up. And I am committed to spending time on it and focusing on it. If it's recruiting people to be a part of this committee, if it's sitting in on the committee, I want to be of as much assistance as I can. And I extended that to Mr. Waddell. I will gladly extend it to Mr. Sheeler. If you are willing to invest in our community, you deserve a seat at the table. And we can't be shooting off the cuff and making decisions, meeting to meeting from the dais. It needs to be all spelled out, well thought out. Here's where you can work from. These are the materials we want to see, or these are the types of structures we would like to see. And this is how many parking spots we need. And all of that stuff needs to be well thought out. And right now we're just making decisions as it comes before us. And that's just it's not how we should be conducting business.
What Sherry is referring to about the transportation code, Title VI roadways that dictate sidewalk, cafe, and row use.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah.
So I know all these things have to be factored in, and it just, from the outside, it looked like to me that because they were basically using city property, that was the biggest reason why you didn't want a permanent structure on those parking spots for Texas Bar. But again, what's really the difference between what they got now and what they're proposing to do is they're, they're, I guess with a permanent structure, you're not going to get those parking spaces back, but you're not going to get them back now. I mean, why would you want to do that? Because that is a pretty popular attraction.
Whatever they put in play, whatever they poured or stuck in the ground, part of that agreement is you have to be willing to take it up. And so as long as they understand that, then it's whatever, at that point, it's on the individual investor to determine if it's worth, going that extra mile or not. But there were ways, and staff approached Mr. Waddell with this. There are ways to make some of those improvements that he wanted without making them permanent. But we were digging into the nitty-gritty up there at the dais, and that's not our job. Our job is policy. Come up and then create the standards that everyone can work from, and from there staff implements. And that's where we're getting hairy, is it's like, in the meeting in particular, we're like, okay, if you drill this or you use this types of material, or hey, that material is not going to hold up and this and that, that's too in the weeds, and I have no business making those decisions.
Well, Larry Scott has come on the show here, so to speak, a question. The City Council Policy and Valuation Committee is currently working on these standards. Citizens are welcome to attend these meetings.
Yes.
Okay, and also Sherry says we got to look up the transportation code, and see why that may be a factor as well. That's over my head.
I have been remiss to say that we do have a committee of council people working on. There are so many things that need to be reviewed right now, and so we're trying. It's not for the lack of we see the problem, we know there's a problem, and we're working to address it.
Well,
it's going to be a little bit of a process. It just is, because there's so many steps to it. But I don't. I'm committed to working on it in every way that I can and where it's appropriate for me to.
Well, as far as Spice Rack, that's a little bit different because they've had that permanent structure for a while. And from what I have seen on Facebook and other social media, which again is an imperfect source, that he basically took that space at the behest of the city, and now they're wanting him to make modifications. Is that an accurate way of putting it?
It is I don't have I wasn't here when that took place, but yes, in some of these cases, it was the city that approached said business owner and said, "Hey, have you thought about doing this with this space?" Because particularly that space in front of Spice Rack, it was a dead tree. So, and there's been staff turnover there. Some don't know all the history, and sometimes staff, especially if they're newer, they take the materials and they, read section da-da-da-da-da says we shouldn't be doing this, and then they just go out in force. And it's that having institutional knowledge that is sometimes helpful in a lot of these cases, in particular when we're dealing with Old Town. It is a special area. It's unique to Burleson. And, we have some staff like Alex Phillips, who's been here for a very long time and grew up here and has that history and can go out and say, look, I know you're proposing this, but maybe have you considered this because it's more in line with what's here or there. And so it's just about, like I said, we have to have a better process in place. I know from the council level, we're working on it. I know staff is being, they're aware that they're kind of getting their teeth knocked in for some of these items, and they don't want that either. They need answers, and we need to provide the direction.
Well, what bothers me, I guess, is the assumption, because you have these kind of questions and have these kind of concerns that you're anti-business or you don't support small business. I know that's not true. I mean, Ronnie Johnson ran a business here for 26 years. He's not going to be anti-small business. I just, on this issue...
McClendon owns the business.
Right, I forgot. Yes, he does.
Bill Anderson owns property in Old Town.
Well, and the mayor, owned the garage door, Texas Dollar, all those years.
I mean,
so they all...
We're invested in this town.
Sure.
While I may not own property or a business in Old Town, I do a lot of business in Old Town.
Well, the thing is, about the Spice Rack, I got confused a little bit because, like, for me, it's always been there. As far as that outdoor seating area, and again, from what I read, well, the side patio is what I'm thinking of. Yeah. And then they added that extra area not too long ago.
Right.
Gosh, I don't remember exactly when, but it hasn't been there that long. But from what I understand, he was doing that because the city kind of encouraged him to do it. Now they're saying, but we didn't mean that, or something like that.
I know.
And so that's not. I don't know, on Mr. Sheeler's part, I could see why he might be a bit irritated.
Absolutely.
Because that's a major investment.
We're saying go, don't go. Go, yellow light, green light, yellow light. It's confusing, and we shouldn't be conducting business this way.
Right.
And I know this council's trying to clean it up, and that's what we're going to have to do. And it's not always going to be fun.
Well, yes, but
so
I'm
just asking for a little bit of patience.
Well, that's a lot to ask, though, in a sense, because of the patience, again, because the wheels of government grind so slowly. Are we going to have these two gentlemen being kind of held up in those processes for 2 to 3 years? Or are they going to be...
It will not take that long.
Okay.
And I know, following the Friday meeting with Alex, my understanding is something's going to come before council probably in January.
Okay.
And so we want to work with everyone, and we don't want to unnecessarily hold people up. We want things to look nice in Old Town. We want people to shop there, play there, do business there. And so we have to be willing to make some concessions where we can. But the other piece is, we don't want to set the precedents that just build what you want. And
right. But there has to be a policy in place. But I guess but to retroactively apply those processes now might be an expense and a deterrent for
absolutely
for what you're trying to achieve down there. And so I've never met these two gentlemen. I wouldn't know them if they walked in the door right now. But I just, as a business owner, I could see where they're concerned that maybe this is it's just harder than it has to be, I guess is the best way to put it. And so if I had my 2 cents, I'd just say y'all come to an accommodation that y'all the city and those two gentlemen can live with, and then at the same time be working on it so the next time we have something like this, there is a process in place and it's understood by all the parties. And I like what they do downtown. I've heard that lumber yard is going to be a real attraction, even though I do miss Moon Tower. I did like the pizza quite a bit, and it was a good place to hang. By the way, they're going to be opening up probably in the next year or so, just about catty corner from where I'm sitting right now. So,
really?
so here in Crowley, So it's hopefully we'll see them again. But that's just my 2 cents, in my opinion, and since you're entitled to it according to the logo, I hope we can have accommodations made, and then hopefully they won't have to be made again because everybody's going to know what the rules are.
Agree.
Well, I'm going to go with my second round of commercials. I'm going to talk about this library you all committed yourself to. No, I'm kidding. I think some people need to read these a little bit more closely than others. All right, but thank you to Gail over at Southern Gym. They have a lot going on this week. It's right before Christmas. They're going to be open till 5 on Saturday, which is unusual. They're going to be open till 6 all week. So run on down there. And, if you don't know what you want, you can always put together a wish list and then go and then take your spouse, your true heart's beloved over there, and they could pick something out. So afterwards, and there's going to be lots going on after as well. So this is a good week to go down there to check out the inventory. So, and say hey to the ladies that work there. It's going to be hectic for them. Also, thank you to Old Pro Roofing and with John Williams, 817-734-2756. It's a good time to have your roof checked during the holidays because you don't want to have the bad weather hit you up in December or January or February, and then you find out, I have a problem in the roof. This is the time to find out if you have a problem or not, and he'll tell you the truth, yes or no. He won't upsell you. He won't try to make you feel like your house is about to fall down on each other. Also, thank you to Candy and Sammy over at Camco Mortgage. Sammy Campbell can be reached at 817-778-4592. Candy at 817-925-2661. They can help you with the refinance. They can help you with new finance. They can help you with the rates and everything else. They've been doing this for 20 years here in Burleson, and now they have their own place. Same location at the B&G complex down at the South Building on the 3rd floor. You can walk on by and check out what's going on with the real estate market. Also, Victoria, here's something I know you're pretty excited about, and this is this business with the between the Burleson PD and the Chamber of Commerce are putting together a means by which people that are under threat of assault, abuse, etc., can reach out and get help with all this. Okay, this is all over the town, and a lot of the ladies' restrooms in particular, which I thought was pretty smart. About 2 weeks ago, I had Stephanie Beard and Colin Gregory on. They're going to be on again in about a month to talk about like phase 2. But if you see one of these signs and you or yourself are going through some sort of personal crisis, you're under threat or whatever, hit the QR code. You could fill it out. If you need police involved, they'll get involved. It's not just for abuse or assault victims. It's also for people who just don't know where to turn for various things. Maybe they're having some sort of emotional crisis. Maybe they're having suicidal thoughts. Maybe they are new to town and they don't know where to go to get a meal for their families, a bag of groceries. So even though we have a lot of nonprofits, not everybody is aware of them, and this will help them get aware of it. So the help defray the cost are $7 a piece, and I believe you'll probably see them all over Old Town. I know, and you'll see them at Otto's Place. You're going to see them. I believe Walmart has them. So I think this is really, really a great thing we're doing. Now, I'm going to ask Victoria about this library thing. Apparently, the library board made a proposal for like a $52 million complex of sorts. Now, this was just a wish list, was it not? I mean, it wasn't like this is imminent in any means.
So the library had a master plan,
Mm-hmm.
and it was presented to the library board. So when you have a master plan done, it's looking at complete build out of your community, the resources that you currently offer, what you could offer in a dream scenario, all the things that you wish you could offer. And my understanding was this is an example, for the community our size, for the resources that we want to provide it, ideally, this is the ultimate dream facility.
Right. Do we need a new library?
In my opinion,
Yes.
as a user of the library, yes. And I think we know our library is busting at the seams. They do so much more than provide books. It is a resource in so many ways. You can check out camping gear from our library. There's digital resources galore. There are our library does an amazing job of outreach in our community for teens, senior citizens, young children. There's so much that a library does and is to a community. Do we need a bigger facility? Yes. If you ever attend, particularly any holiday special events, I was just there a couple weekends ago. They had crafts and local authors were set up throughout the library that you could walk through. There was a story time with little bitties. There was so much going on, and we were stepping on top of each other, and they had it laid out all over the library as best they could. The community room is always reserved, and it is not nearly big enough. We do a lot of cool things there, and there's so much more that they could do if they had more space.
Mm-hmm.
For a little while, we thought we could contract and potentially have space to do some of those community events next door at a facility, but that didn't work out. So yes, could the library use more space? Absolutely. It is highly utilized. That study had a lot of good information about, the number of library cards issued and how many in residents versus out of town residents. And I mean, my daughter has a card. I have a card. It's such a great facility, and we have an amazing library staff
Mm-hmm.
that are willing to find anything that you're looking for.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is just a first step. I mean, some people, I think, took it and ran with it that, your city council was committing itself to building a new library. This was just basically a proposal, and a proposal of that size is going to probably take some sort of bond issue of sorts.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's not going to be passed on a budget level.
I will say it is not in our 5-year capital improvement plan. So we know it's not happening in the next 5 years.
Really?
Could it potentially be in the following 5 years, our big 10-year plan? Possibly. Because we have land in that we purchased over the last couple of years off of further out on Alsbury, closer to where Lakewood's going to extend to. Basically, if you take Alsbury and you go to that second roundabout, we have land. It's all empty.
You said
right
roundabout. That's a dirty word in this sound.
So, I mean, we have purchased some acreage, and it's a blank slate right now. What do we need in this community, and how do we want to address it is what we get to look at. As part of this current budget that we are in, council approved a facilities study, which is really important because there are a number of departments that have never had a facility study. And so we need to know at complete build out, what is all the space for all of these departments that we need, and how do we accommodate that? We have to plan. And so we have some acreage that we can do some things with. Is it relocating City Hall? In my personal opinion, yes. I don't believe its current location is the best and highest use of that property where it currently sits. There are so many other things that could be a part of our plaza. So I would like to relocate City Hall. And it's going to be this council's really, we're all going to have to put on our thinking caps and figure out, where do we see Burleson going when we get this facility study back and we understand, truly what are our needs? Where do we see ourselves at complete build out? The number of staff that each department's going to theoretically need and that kind of stuff. What does City Hall look like? So the library could very well be a part of that City Hall construction project. And so now is the time to think and, dream up. But this is just a master plan. And then it goes to conceptuals. And then there's so many reiterations that are going to take place, especially once we start thinking about, okay, like we have talked a lot about what our debt capacity is for the next 5 years. So we know a project of that magnitude is just not there. The money is not there to accomplish in the next 5 years. Mm-hmm. But when we start looking at 8 years, 10 years, how much debt capacity becomes available, and then how do we leverage those funds appropriately to accomplish all the things that we want to accomplish?
What's a problem with? I mean, I understand you're perfectly logical about all this, but 8 years from now, boy, I can only imagine what the construction expense would be. But but I think some people took it to mean that this is a commitment. I thought it was a wish list, and. There's also another, not criticism, but a concern was where the city was considering even putting this as out the far west part of our community, and they wanted a more centralized location. I don't know where that would be.
That will technically be more centralized as the west side of our community grows out. Now, it's kind of interesting sometimes to be a part of these decisions because you're right. Right now, Alsbury... Once you get past, I forgot what that road is, but at the moment, COVID brain, but it turns into one lane either direction. And very soon it's going to have 2 lanes, and we will have more development alongside Alsbury on both sides. And the city's development will be a part of that. And then you think with Chisholm Summit coming in on the west side of town, that's 3,000 rooftops. So, and a major trade schools coming in on the west side of town. And so that would be more centralized. And the cool part is we can start thinking now, for 8 to 10 years, it's important that we plan out. Nothing in government, like you said before, happens fast. And so we can think through, what all do we truly need and what do we think we can accomplish with the money that we will have available to us. And, by then, there are new users to the library paying into our tax base. And so there's room to plan and appropriately address the growth. Would I love to see a brand new library facility? Absolutely. I love our library. My kids have gone there since they're teeny weeny. Oliver was 2 weeks old when I first took him to the library, and he screamed his head off. And that's when I learned that there was a quiet room for moms. And I fell in love with the staff because I had a screaming newborn and my little toddler who wanted to read to Minnie Mouse because, they have these enormous stuffed animals and you could sit in the little reading nooks and read to them. And Audrey was very upset that I was like, we need to go. We have a screaming newborn. And, the staff ushered us into this room, brought me a stack of books to read with Audrey, and I had a quiet baby and a happy toddler. And that our library just does so many things and provides so much to our community. And there's domino effects from that. It's a safe place. It's a place that's warm. It's a place that you can educate yourself. You can continue your education. You can learn new things, new trades. They're always offering something for everyone. And I'm beyond proud of that. And I would love to see it get a new facility. But we'll just have to see what, we know for the next 5 years what our debt capacity holds. And it doesn't hold enough to build that now, but it could, and it won't be a $52 million. Well, I can't say that actually. Who knows what construction costs will look like?
No kidding.
I can't say that what we used to think, what we used to could get for 16 million now cost us 30 million. It is going to ever increase, but there's only so much that we can work within. We still have to say whether we have those funds or we don't, and how do we accommodate all that we need to do with what we do have.
Okay. I'm going to switch gears on you and talk about vehicle usage with the ambulances and fire department, whatever else. What is this issue about? What is the concern of the citizens about this particular issue? Is it the same thing what Fort Worth is going through? Because I read about that some of the citizens were upset that the Fort Worth police were able to take their cars to their personal residences or use them on personal errands and whatever else. And, like, for example, right down the street from me is a Fort Worth police officer, and he parked his police car right in front driveway, which I liked because it was a way of telling the rest of the neighborhood there's a cop that lives here. Are we talking about the same thing here, or is this what is the issue at hand here with the usage of these vehicles?
No one is driving our ambulances to their homes.
Well, that's not what I meant.
Ambulances for personal errands, but understandably, what you're talking about are take-home vehicles, which our PD has looked at as well.
Mm-hmm.
They have talked about those figures with us. It is a tremendous asset when it comes to recruitment and retention of officers. So maybe someday our city will be able to look at that. I too am in favor, but you have to look at a lot of things as far as like what's an acceptable amount of mileage that the officer can live from the city. You have to look at all of that stuff because it goes into the maintenance and replacement of a particular vehicle.
Well, I know there are two different subjects, but that was just I thought they were similar because there were issues about how the vehicles are being used at the last city council meeting. And so I'll let you explain that issue.
When the concern that was brought forward comes from transferring facility transfers. Interfacility transfers are what they're called. So if you are at Hughley, for example, and you need something more advanced than they are able to do, let's say you had a very traumatic car accident and you were just taken to Hughley, you really should have been taken to Harris Downtown or JPS even because they are a Trauma 1 facility. You would get an interfacility transfer, which means they can't the hospital is not going to discharge you so you can drive yourself or someone can drive you to that hospital. They're going to call an ambulance to say, hey, we need to transfer this patient to JPS or Harris Downtown because of XYZ. And depending on the ranking of what all that patient needs, do they need oxygen, do they need an IV, all the things that go into the service that they're currently receiving. The ambulance serves as a mobile ER, so depending on what all that patient may need depends on the severity and how fast that individual needs to be transported or transferred. So a number of transfers come out of Texas Health Burleson, which is on the south side of our community, heading toward Joshua. They are a standalone ER. And an individual may go in thinking, oh, I'm just having a stomach pain. And it turns out that they need their gallbladder removed or something, and it needs to happen immediately. Well, they're going to call for a transfer. When the city of Burleson took over emergency transportation from MedStar, we basically just took the contract that they had, the services that they provided to this service area, we took it over. We took it over for the city of Burleson. And a piece of that is providing these transfers or being responsible for them, which means we don't necessarily have to do them ourselves, but we do have to coordinate them. So, a call from Texas Health Burleson or Hughley or the other standalone ER. I think it's called Touchpoint, that's in the same development with the movie theater. They can call for interfacility transfer and say, we need to move this patient because of XYZ. And of course, this is not my profession. This is the information that I've been told, but they're going to go down a checklist of, how imminent is this need? Does it need to be now? Can it be in an hour, 3 hours? What are all the needs of that particular transfer? And to keep them stable and to give them all the same services while they're being transported and then delivered to the next facility. So they'll determine. We started this service October 1, and it was my understanding and definitely the perception of a number of citizens in our community who rightfully so raised questions. In the first month that we were doing ambulatory service, the numbers were high as far as how often we were doing these inter-facility transfers. And then when you think about that, when we have an ambulance out that, let's say, has to drive to Fort Worth and maybe get stuck in traffic or whatever it may be, it takes that unit out of service. And so it has to be backfilled if we get an influx of calls, because we still have a service to provide to our own citizens. And so we were calling in a lot of overtime and putting out our fourth unit to fill when one of the other units was out doing the interfacility transfers. So, sometimes you're just in the depths of things and doing operations, and it takes some people, whether that's internal or external, to say, hang on, is this making the most sense? And so questions were raised from myself and other council people, because we were hearing from citizens, because we're hearing from firefighters that are saying, I think we're doing a lot of this. Is it true? And you have to take a step back and say, let's look at the call volume. Are we getting 911 calls, or are we getting how many 911 calls versus how many interfacility transfer requests are we getting? Are those transfers being ranked appropriately? Is there a way? We have an existing agreement with CareFlight that keeps a medic at Station 3 to take care of these as well as back us up. So are we utilizing them to the best of our ability? What are other opportunities to have more of these agreements where a private provider like AMR or MedStar can do these instead of BFD being the driver? We just coordinate it. We understand it's our obligation to take these calls and coordinate them, but do we have to be the actual box that does it? Not necessarily. And we have to look at numbers. I failed to say this in our council meeting, but I would venture to say, when we're hiring back these firefighters to then staff a fourth ambulance that may or may not necessarily be needed for just our 911 call volume, I can guarantee what we're having to pay these firefighters to come back and pay overtime isn't covered by an interfacility transfer alone. So, you have to look at the cost and recovery. And some of the questions raised by citizens were, are we doing this to make money? And I would have to say, my guess would be no. And I would guess that we're not making back in an interfacility transfer what it costs to hire back the firefighters to run it.
Wow,
so,
that's a lot, though. I mean, it's a lot to consider. I didn't even know this was an issue, tell you the truth. But okay, but Larry says thank you for your commitment to Burleson and wishes you to get well soon. And same as Sherry.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to go back, and we're about to close up here. I want to go back to the first part of the show, because that was really, probably in my mind, the most, active conversation piece in social media. I have every confidence that this city council is supportive of small businesses in this community. All right, and I guess I just want to give you the opportunity to say that out of your own words.
Thank you, Mr. Allard.
All right.
I think I love Burleson, and I am beyond privileged to serve on this city council. And I think we have such a special town and unique treasures such as Old Town. But we have a thriving small business community, and small business employs so much of our community. We need small businesses to continue to be as successful as we are. And I'm beyond appreciative for every entrepreneur that, thinks up some grand idea, whether it's a boutique or a restaurant or, whatever it may be, bringing insurance. There's so many things, mortgage companies that make us Burleson. And the best part is we're taking care of our own. I love nothing more than going into City Market, saying hello to Weaver and Deb and Kim and people that know me and say, we got such and such back in stock because I know you were looking for it last time. I shop in our clothing boutiques a lot.
Yeah. Okay. As Philip will tell us.
So, we're privileged to have the small businesses that have invested in our community. And we, as a council, I know we just have such a good council right now. I couldn't say enough how much I enjoy working with those individuals. And I think, we want what's best for Burleson, and we're going to work together. We're willing to take those hard steps that are necessary to clean things up. That's just what needs to be done. And I love Old Town, and I'm very appreciative of the businesses that are there. Keep thriving. I'll keep supporting you. I know one of my colleagues will, and I hope all of Burleson will continue to do so, because we want a place where people come and spend their time, their money, and that's Old Town. It's a treasure. And so I'm constantly on Alex of what else can we do that attracts people, not just to Old Town, but throughout our whole town to, do business here. And there are businesses outside of Old Town, all along 174. There are small businesses that are thriving, and we want to support you all. And I think our economic development department is always willing to come up with new ideas and how we can do that as a city.
What my wish would be for this particular issue that we're talking about today is that, first of all, people don't run with it and make assumptions about, they don't like this person or they don't like small business and this other business, because all it does is cause more divisive commentary on Facebook and a lot of unfair commentary. I also hope that for Mr. Sheeler and Mr. Waddell, something can be accommodated while y'all work out this policy, and they can be satisfied, and y'all will have a policy in place that y'all are satisfied with. So kind of come together and work out this disagreement. But my hope is that we could just dismiss with all of this business that you hate small businesses and you don't like this person, and it's total rubbish. You don't govern a good city that way. So,
I believe we're all mature enough and professional enough of a council to be above that. We want what's best. And absolutely, just like you've said, we've asked staff, I know I have personally, and other colleagues as well have said, how can we work with this business owner? How can we get something before council that has a better chance at getting passed? What is it? And I, like I said, I'm willing to put myself out there and to help in any way that I can. But I believe, I believe from what Alex said, they had a positive conversation, Mr. Sheeler and he, on Friday. And so things will come before us again. And I encouraged Mr. Waddell to do the same. And his manager, Jamie, she did fantastic. It's nerve-wracking presenting in front of council. And I went by and told her how much I appreciated her thoroughness and her willingness to even come before council to say, this is how it will affect our businesses. And we're just trying to stay competitive, and I want to support them, and I want to figure out how we can do that. And just like you're saying, we need to, make some concessions in the interim until we have something that we can take forward to say, from here on, this is how you will make improvements.
I bet something will be accommodated for both sides pretty soon, and we'll go on to the next crisis, hair pulling situation. That never ends with government.
Well, that's okay.
It's fun.
We're growing, so we need to be evolving.
I know.
What worked before doesn't always work now. Where handshakes and high fives used to do the trick, now, that just leaves too much ambiguity. And so we need something that's standardized, and then we'll roll from there.
Well, you have a good Christmas as best you can. I know it's going to be tough. This happened a while back. We had to do Facebook not Facebook, FaceTime Christmas one year because of illnesses, and it's not a great substitute, but it's better than nothing. But I hope you get better soon. Hope the kids don't get this. Hope Philip doesn't get this.
I know.
I'm
trying to stay away.
Yeah, well, I know.
Or I wear a mask in my own house.
Masks. Okay. Yeah, okay. We'll get in on that topic too, I guess. No, nothing like that.
I'm just trying to do my part in protecting my family and friends, but I haven't left this house in days, and I think my corner of the couch has got a permanent indention in it. I've read a lot of books, so thank you, library.
Okay. I could send you a couple of books to read. I got this biography of Reagan I think is really good, and I had to throw that in there. Sorry, dear.
I'm more of a Lincoln girl.
I have about 25 books on Lincoln because I have.
It's easy.
Yeah, it's a little trivia pursuit. He is the most written about American, and there's only one other person actually, other than I guess Jesus, that's been written more about, and that's Napoleon. In terms of yes. Yeah, so Lincoln has...
There are over 15,000 books in production about Lincoln.
Yes, and so there you go. And I got some good books on there, too. Just about every aspect you ever want to know about him.
If you want to drop them by safely on my porch, I'll accept.
Well, you take care, and I hope this doesn't last much longer, and you're able to do your holidays. Taylor, thanks for your technical wizardry.
Always.
Yes. Taylor, thank you, and I'm sorry my headphones and your tips were not working, but I appreciate
no worries. We tried.
so much.
That's all good. Tomorrow,
I hope you both have a very Merry Christmas.
We will. Tomorrow we're going to have the ladies from Next Step, which I always enjoy. Megan and Summer will be here, and then Thursday, like I mentioned, Jennifer Woods will be here about Harvest House. And so I got a good week going on. And
you do.
Yeah, I do. It's a good week to have the show. So you take care, Victoria, and we'll talk to you next month. Bye-bye.
Yeah.